Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. It's your host, John Abbas here, and today we have an awesome guest. He went from being an all-star veteran pro hockey player to being an incredibly successful entrepreneur with food sustainability. And I'll explain a little bit about what that means here in just a minute. But before we bring him on, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to it on Apple, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I just want to make sure that you are notified every time an awesome episode gets released. I don't want you to miss it. Now, if the interview happens to exceed your expectations, a nice review would be very helpful as well. So with that being said, today I have the privilege of speaking with TJ Galiardi. TJ played 10 seasons in the NHL with teams such as the Colorado Avalanche, San Jose Sharks, Calgary Flames, and the Winnipeg Jets. During that time, he discovered his passion for entrepreneurship and food sustainability. With over 100 billion tons of unused food being wasted and thrown away each year, TJ realized that there must be a way to make use of all of that produce before it goes to waste. So together with his business partner, they created a company called Outcast Foods, which is a really cool concept. They take unused produce, and with their cutting edge process of something called upcycling, they can turn it into all kinds of ingredients while retaining almost 100% of its nutrients. This is just a great interview where TJ shares some shocking stats about food waste and the direct impact that it has on the planet, while also sharing how his company is pioneering the way to change all of that. Just very, very, very cutting edge. This is a great interview where you'll learn some incredible things while also being inspired to make the world a better place. So with that being said, please help me welcome TJ to the show. All right, TJ, welcome to the Mentor Nation podcast. I've been looking forward to this interview for some time, man. Thank you for being on today. And I'm excited to have you pour into the audience and educate them.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a good opportunity to spread the word about Outcast Foods and educate some people on food waste.
Absolutely. So for those listening in, I just want to give everybody a little bit of a backstory on you. TJ, you have an amazing story. I mean, you were a world-class pro hockey player, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but you spent 10 seasons in the NHL playing for teams like Colorado Avalanche, San Jose Sharks, Calgary Flames, Winnipeg Jets, and after that, after 10 seasons, successful seasons, you transition into entrepreneurship. And it's cool because, for many athletes, those are the golden years. And, but I really do, after looking at your company and what you're building and the mission, I really think what you're working on now is going to eclipse that by far. And so, now you're the co-founder of Outcast Foods, and I'm just going to read this from your website because it was really cool. It's a sustainable food tech company that makes beautiful food out of ugly produce. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great intro. And that's directly from the horse's mouth, right from our website. So I like that little one-liner.
Yeah, absolutely. And trust me, guys, when you hear some of the things that TJ has to say today and the impact that his company is really making out there, I think you guys are going to be blown away just like me. And so that's what I was hoping that you could cover today is just like how big of a problem food waste is, the impact it's having on the planet, the things that we can all do moving forward, and just kind of how your company is leading the charge to change that. But I was hoping maybe you could start with just a little bit about your story and just kind of, what led up to you having a passion for what you do now and how you got involved with that.
Yeah. So as far as my story goes, you got into it with the hockey. That was my whole focus. My entire life was playing hockey and trying to make it to the big leagues and make it to the NHL. So didn't think much about the environment, didn't think much about anything else other than my performance and my health. So that was everything for me for my whole life until I turned about 29, 30 years old. And that's when my playing career was kind of coming to an end. I was losing the passion. I mean, hockey, your body takes an absolute beating. I broke both my wrists. I broke my ankle. I got a stick in the eye. just the
Oh,
list goes on and on. So I think my body was ready for something new as well. So met some really interesting folks along the way in that career. And one of the guys I met really early along in my career was Dr. Darren Burke, who's my co-founder on Outcast Foods. He was a university professor turned entrepreneur. He had started a supplement company from a tiny little business to over 22 million in revenue in the fifth year. So
wow.
gigantic success. And his company was selling products to our team. So we met through that. And that was the start of a really great friendship and mentorship that spawned over a decade. And then we got into the conversation of, we should do something together. He had sold his business, and like I said, I was sick of playing hockey and putting my body through the abuse. So both of us actually were plant-based. I've been vegan for 7 years now, and he's been
Oh, wow.
vegan for about 5. So one of the things that kind of goes hand in hand with veganism is the environment. And the thing that we kept seeing was food waste. Kept seeing all these articles and news stories on full crops going to waste because of little things like imperfections or too big or too small or best if used by dates. And no one was talking about a solution. So the two of us thought, we could put our heads together and come up with an idea. And the idea we came up with was so simplistic. It was, why is no one dehydrating this product, the fruits and vegetables, to give it a 2 to 3 year shelf life, because it maintains a very high level of nutrients. Dehydrated fruits and vegetables are used in hundreds of applications, from pet foods to cosmetics and pretty much everything in between. So to our shock and amazement, no one else was doing it. So massive opportunity that we really couldn't turn our backs on, because the latest numbers I saw, and they're so astronomical that you can't even conceptualize what it looks like and how much it is, but almost 1 billion tons of food gets wasted every year. So
Oh my God.
yeah, so it's such a big issue that no one was really attacking. There's some niche companies that are, making, let's say, banana chips, or companies that are making, crackers out of juice, but there was no real scalable solution. And our simplistic one seems to be the one that is gaining traction and becoming that answer.
That's so crazy. So educate us a little bit on, because I think that's the big thing, right? Like, I know, and I'm, I try to eat healthy. And one of the big concerns for me, especially with food and produce, is like losing its nutritional value when I cook it, when I boil it, when I steam it, when I'm always looking for, like, what's the best way to cook something so that it retains most of its value. And you're saying that when you dehydrate it, all these billions of tons of food that gets wasted because of whatever reason, stupid reasons, like, because I think I read this on your website, like it retains what, most or almost all of its nutrition, the way that your process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that took us over a year to come up with our own unique process, because the traditional drying techniques, they just weren't going to do it for us because of that reason. They're really degrading to the nutrient quality. So spray drying and drum drying are the two most popular dehydration techniques. And they're essentially, what they're doing is they're taking the moisture out of the product very fast. They're using an extremely high heat. So that's going to basically burn away any of the nutrients. So what we've done is we've come up with a technology that's at a low thermal temperature. So basically it's almost like letting the sun dry it. That's how low the temperature is. And it allows the product to maintain that nutrient quality that we're happy with as a company to sell.
That's awesome. And we're going to get into a little bit more about just what you guys provide, because it's actually like super cool. And you guys sell in the US, right now?
Yeah. We sell everywhere online. The US, we're about to launch in a couple new retailers later this summer. So exciting news.
That's awesome. So I was hoping just for, I don't know, shock value for the audience, because, my oldest daughters live in Canada and I live in the US. They live in Vancouver, and man, there's there's just such a difference in mentality. It's like, and I don't want to like degrade anybody in the US, but it's like people really don't give a shit here about waste or anything. We all just have trash. Very few of us have, like, this new house that we just built. We don't even have recycling bins outside. But everywhere I go, it doesn't matter what Airbnb or where I go in Canada, there's always like three bins. There's your trash, recycling, and compost, which is where you have to put your food. And it's crazy to see how much more that they care. And so, just for shot, can you just share any unique statistics? I mean, the 100 billion tons is that was kind of shocking, but is there just anything else that, being in this industry, that you've seen that's just like, holy crap, like, why is there not a better way?
Yeah, so I think the best way to explain it is kind of why the food gets wasted. So I'll give you a few examples. So one is we have a partner, a grocer partner. They're Canada's biggest grocery chain. They're called Sobeys. We work with them at their distribution centers. So the way you can explain it is they have different, essentially centralized facilities where all the food comes in, and then they send it out to each individual store within their network. So the smallest one in Canada is the first one that we started working with, and that's in Nova Scotia. So trucks are showing up all day, all morning with products. So if a truckload of bananas shows up, a full 53-foot trailer stacked to the top of boxes of bananas, and they inspect the first third, the middle third, and the last third. So they'll look at one box from each. And if the product is, let's say the bananas are too yellow, they call whoever sent it, Chiquita or whatever the banana company is, and they say, hey guys, the banana showed up, they're too yellow. What do you want us to do with them? And they're not going to pay the $10,000 trucking fee to send it all the way back to Mexico or California or wherever it is. So they just say, okay, you guys deal with it, you get rid of it. So what happens 999 out of 1,000 times before we came along is it ends up in a landfill. They just send that truck right to the landfill because they're too yellow, which is, to me, it's obviously it's a shame, but as a business, they don't want to pay to ship it again out to all their stores and have the bananas turn brown and no one want to buy them within a day or two. And then they have to pay to send those off to a different landfill, right? So it makes sense as a business on their end, but thankfully we've come along and partnered with them. And now we have that real-time data on what's coming in, why it's going to go to waste, and if we can take advantage of it. So if we have a customer at the end that wants banana chips or banana powder, we say, okay, send that truck to us. We'll take it.
And that's awesome. And so maybe you can shed some light on this, because I didn't know, like, I mean, this is stupid, but you're right, not knowing anything about the environment. I always thought that if food goes to a landfill, like, that's a great thing. It's great for the soil, but I'm assuming that's not the case. What's the problem and what's the downside of that?
Yeah, so when food ends up in a landfill, it creates 25 times more methane than it would if it had been composted. So it's an important thing to have the different streams of where the product goes that's eventually waste, right? So not only are you dealing with the fact that, you're taking these bananas that are edible out of the food chain and putting them in a landfill where they're going to be 25 times more methane, then you have to grow new bananas that hopefully show up to the distribution center and are green enough for them to accept those. So there's really a twofold damage to the environment when you do it that way. So that's why we are very excited about the fact that we're upcycling, which is essentially finding a use for waste and giving them a new home and giving the food its rightful place.
I like that term, upcycling, finding a new use for waste. That's super cool. So share a few, because you have some pretty cool products on your website. So Alcat, you have protein powders, so like, could you explain a little bit about like your process, like what you do and then what you turn the food into and then what you sell?
Yeah. So the example I gave you of bananas, that's just one avenue where we procure surplus. So the other would be food processors. So we take byproduct from them. So let's say a company that makes baby carrots, we would take their shavings, which are essentially carrots shaved down. We also work mainly with farms. So a high percentage of the product we get is directly from farms. A good example would be a cauliflower farmer whose florets are too big or too small to sell into a grocery chain or a food broker. We'll take those from them. And essentially, it all comes into our facility. We've started with one facility in Nova Scotia, expanded it 5 times, and now we're building a 46,000 square foot facility right outside of Toronto that's going to process 1.5 million pounds a month. So that gives you an idea of the scale that we're working with. And essentially, what we do is we dehydrate it. That's my easy way of sidestepping the science and the technology that goes into it. But we dehydrate it, and then we have 2 avenues where we sell it. So one is a B2B, business to business side, where we sell it as ingredients. So that cauliflower, for example, would be milled into a powder and would be sold as cauliflower powder to a soup company or to a company that's using it as coating for fries, or that's an alternative flour. So lots of different varieties. And then we also have a supplement business, as you alluded to earlier, where we make protein powders and greens powders and different products out of the surplus inputs. So it's an exciting thing to have 2 sides of your business, but you're essentially running 2 businesses at once.
Yeah. Now, did I read this right? You guys actually do some stuff for pets as well?
Yeah. So on that B2B side, a lot of pet food companies buy our products and use it in their.
So that's B2B. That's
we don't make our own pet food.
All the listeners are like, Psh. I mean, everybody has a dog. It seems like I just want to prevent them from like all flying to your website. Then where's the pet food? I don't. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Man, this is it's fascinating because this is like one of those ideas, right? Like, I feel like everybody has these logical yet genius ideas and they just don't really act on them. Like, I've always thought there should be something better than toilet paper, right? Like, I mean, we have computers that can implement artificial intelligence, but then, you have like some things that are just so like they make no sense, like why they're not more advanced. Like, I hate car air fresheners, right? Like, they're super strong for like 3 days and then the smell just completely goes away. And so, but the point I'm trying to make is it's really cool. It's like, you just had the idea, right? Like, where does all of this food go? And then you created this company and now you're building a 50,000 square foot facility. You're growing all over the world. It's so crazy, and I just wanted to pivot for just a second and see if you could just share a few words of wisdom, because like whatever you've done, you've succeeded at. I mean, you played at the highest level of sports. You found an entrepreneurial endeavor where you were able to mix your passion with business and grow something successful while also doing good for the world. So to entrepreneurs that are listening to this episode and they want to start a business and they want to do something good in the world, like, do you have any advice or any words that you would say to them on like just getting started? Is it find a good partner, find good mentors? Because you alluded to that with Darren. Yep. Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the partnership thing is huge, whether it's a co-founder or whether it's a company that you're going to work with. But I think for us, the thing that we've done well is we've added value to every partnership that we have. So with the grocers, we're saving them money. With the farmers, we're putting their food to good use. With the companies that have byproducts, same thing. They're not paying a tipping fee to haul it away. So that stuff's all important. And then it's just, as far as your own mental health, for me, from the transition from sports to business, it's something that I've had to be able to work out in my own everyday life, is to find a way to, like, the stressful days, to be able to release that and play sports still. Like, I play tennis now instead, and that's kind of my mental release of a hard day of work. Or and I got 2 kids and 2 dogs as well. So just being able to put yourself first sometimes too, and not always put the business first. That's an important thing. So keep the wheels on the track up here, and then you'll be able to do the same with the business.
Awesome. I just have a few more questions. My next question is your mission, the company's mission, is it bigger than just your company? And like, what I mean is like, outside of just doing good and growing a successful business, like, are you focused on also like trying to set an example or create like a trend? Like, I guess like Elon Musk, right? like he made a lot of his technology. He withdrew the patents on a lot of his technology because his big vision, or, or so he says, is to just the faster we can get to electric and not dependent on oil, the better, and I just wanted to, like, is the vision that you guys have to build a successful business, but also like start some kind of a trend or set an example for like mindset wise, what people can do with food and waste and some of the other things?
Yeah, one of our taglines is outgrow normal. So a big thing that we talk about internally all the time is how we're really disrupting the status quo. And the status quo in this industry is throwing perfectly edible food into a landfill, which just doesn't make sense on so many accounts, growing population, food insecurity. So for us, we want to be able to be that truly scalable solution for food waste. We want to be that company where people say, you know what, those guys, they've changed the game. They've done something where, we had this massive problem that no one was tackling, and these guys started a trend and they were the first ones to do it. And we can expect for sure there's other companies that are going to come behind us and have amazing ideas and their own avenues to stop some of this waste. And we welcome it because, as I said, the problem is so big that even our facility and just outside of Toronto doing, 15, 20 million pounds a year, that's nothing compared to the billions of tons that are going to waste, right? So we're welcoming other people to come into this. And, we've seen some other solutions that are starting and other food banks and things like that. And we're excited about it. We just want to see this waste come to an end.
That's awesome. Have you heard of Imperfect Foods?
Yeah,
I don't know how scalable, what they're doing is. I like, neat idea. They just take ugly fruits and vegetables and ship it direct to consumers. And
no, they're amazing. I think they were valued at 750 million or something on their last round. So they're a huge player.
Tech valuations these days are just like, no profit whatsoever, like net loss of millions of dollars a month. $42 billion valuation. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Like it's just, it's insane to me, but it's a whole different story. So we're building a tech startup right now. And so just being in that world and seeing, and I love, like, I invest a lot in the market and stock market. It's just like reading the financials of some of these companies that I invest in. I'm like, God, like
it's upside down sometimes for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So my final question is, man, how can people just follow you guys' journey, connect with you, follow progress, or even, well, actually it's a two-part question. Number one, we know what your company is doing, but like, what can everyday average people do to do better? Like me, for instance, being in this industry, you have to be able to have a level of awareness way higher than most of us that are just living our day to day. Because for most of us, I feel like it's out of sight, out of mind, unfortunately, right? Like you eat, throw it away, you don't think about it, and it's stupid. But like, what are some of the things that we can do to just move the needle a little bit?
Yeah, I think individual consumers, you put your dollars to work, right? So instead of buying that chip company that isn't doing anything for sustainability, buy the one that's sourcing sustainable ingredients, or buy the one that is using compostable packaging. That's the easiest thing to do. And then the other thing, I guess, would just be to educate yourself, learn a little more about why it's happening. And then you're going to be able to find brands that are doing things, or tech startups that are coming up with unique solutions. And if you have the means, you can invest in them, or you can just follow them and cheer them along, right? So for us, you can find everything you need to know on socials, outcastfoods.com, or most of our socials are Outcast Mission. So you can see we're pretty active on there. We like to show what we're up to.
What are you most active on? Which social media? I'll make sure I put them in the show notes.
I'd say Instagram or LinkedIn. Those are the two.
Awesome. Who had the idea for the name? I really like the name Outcast Foods.
Yeah, you know what? Darren and I were in the office and just really talking about how we could kind of encapsulate our business in a word.
Yeah.
Misfit was taken, Imperfect was taken, and then we just thought, you know what, Outcast, and sometimes we still get people that try to use the K, like the Outcast, it's funny, but that's
dude, it's so funny how creative you have to get. Like I had this idea, and like when I get an idea, even if I don't think I can act on it because I'm just so busy, like I'll buy the domains, and I'll just hold on to them. And I have like several domains that are worth thousands of dollars just from ideas that I have. But this one idea, and then I'll let you go. And if somebody's listening, I don't really give a shit. You could take the idea. I don't have time to work on it. But like, I've lived in condos and I've lived in apartments, when I was younger. And, most of the balconies are like pretty standard size, like except for like your penthouses and things like that. But if you look at like any resort, any apartment complex, any condo, even high end, right? Like if you look at the balcony, it's just really shitty furniture, right? Like brown, it's just nobody caters to like really designer world-class, like balcony or patio stuff. And so like I bought, porchpros.com and balconyboss.com. And like, I bought all these domains that I still have. So I'm hoping somebody runs with it and they want to buy my domain, but it's just, I think that's really cool. Like, I love where just learning how people think of names of things. And I think Outcast Foods it's a phenomenal, just like website, a name of a company. So I just curious how you did that.
Thanks.
So yeah, man, TJ, I really, really appreciate your time, man. I really maybe one day we can have a whole other interview just about your NHL career and just, what it takes to play on that level and operate and excel. But I wanted to focus this on just your company. I see you're growing, and I wish you all the success in the world. And I hope everybody listening learns something, but also, check out Outcast Foods, support them, purchase something from them. But more than anything, I really think we should all follow your advice and just support the companies that are taking the risks to do good and not just increase their bottom line and create junk. I think that's a phenomenal idea, and it's great advice. So I just want to say thank you for your time today, and appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.